definitely. I think, yes, they do enslave our soul for sure, because then it redirects our attention to something. So whatever words we actually speak, because once we speak it, we hear it and it becomes a truth. So yeah, it is a very enslaving sort of state of being, and hardly anyone's aware of it. I also
Right.
believe that it's not necessarily just what we speak out, but what we speak inside. Because it's easy to say, because I hear people all the time, I used to do this. We're like, yeah, today, I don't know, my car and blah, 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 and complain and be like, you know what? I'm with the flow. Right? So,
Yeah. Right. It's,
yeah.
I have to fight traffic today, right? Like it sets us up for a very serious case of anxiety and stress. Right. The way we talk about those types of experiences in our life, they have massive impacts and ripple effects on how our day ends up going. And maybe there's not a way for some people to celebrate traffic, but I would say, ooh, I get extra time to listen to the music I want to. I get extra time to, sit here and by myself and appreciate gratitude for things that I have in life. Right. There's lots of ways you can view that traffic scenario.
Yeah, for sure. 100%. I used to do that all the time because I did live in Egypt at some point and they have traffic. I mean, if anything, it's just traffic, right? And
Oh,
so
wow.
it would be like, I'd be like, okay, so divine has a plan somehow. And it would always turn out that the people coming to the workshop or whatever meeting I had, they were also delayed. So no one was really late.
Yes.
But it's being in that state of, you know what, I can't fight life.
Right. Or I can, but woo, you got a big fight ahead of you.
Yeah.
I don't recommend fighting a brick wall. Well, good. Well, as we dive in, so for the visionaries and entrepreneurs out there, what are 3 books or resources that you recommend they read or consume or follow?
Oh, definitely consume Neville Goddard.
Neville Goddard.
Neville Goddard. So Neville Goddard is spectacular. He forget that he goes into like religious he just changes the whole paradigm of religion anyway, but in general, he died forever ago, but he's for every part of your life, whether it's business, relationship, emotions. Neville Goddard. And of course, Wayne Dyer. Wayne Dyer was like my best friend since since his books came out, like as in a book. Yeah, and the Earthing movie. I know it sounds weird, but there's a movie on YouTube. It's called The Earthing Movie.
The Earthing movie.
And that one is spectacular because it does shift a paradigm. And I know when we're busy working and we're doing and we're like frazzled, we forget. We're like so dependent on this and we forget that there's an easier way to do things.
Yes. And that I just saw it says the science or the remarkable science of grounding.
Yes.
And yes, the process for those who are listening and grounding in basic terms, the way that I feel it and see it as a layman, is just taking your shoes off and connecting with the dirt or connecting with the grass. And that's far easier to do in that really super soft grass you have in Utah compared to the really, really scratchy stuff that might have a rattlesnake in it in San Antonio, Texas. Anytime I get the chance to do that, you might be walking on the sidewalk, but you might have an opportunity for a yard next to you. Just take your shoes off and walk through the grass and allow yourself to feel that. Like it's one of those things that there's so many people who never take the time for that or never have a place to go because we don't intentionally look for it. And it's like, we can't find that. Wait, go ahead. I want to know your thoughts.
Or you live in a cold country like here where it's snow half the year and you get.
Where are you?
I'm in Montreal.
Montreal.
Canada,
Okay.
Montreal.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's cold most of the time. So I miss grounding myself. But even if you can't put your feet on the floor, hug a tree. It's anything to get you in nature to merge back again, because as we get into technology and other people's energies and humanness, we disconnect and we become individuals again. And so you want to go back into nature and kind of integrate yourself back. So now you're oneness with everything. And all of a sudden you're your pace goes down. You become more dependent on source, life force energy. There's no
I got
rush and
goosebumps.
emergency and I have to finish it now. You're like,
Yeah.
okay, yes.
I got absolute goosebumps from that. And it's, Earth Day's coming up. So we're celebrating a little bit early, which is good. Kind of like
Mhm.
Valentine's Day and Christmas and all those other holidays. Celebrate them year round,
Yes.
and enjoy the essence of those realities. So we'll be right back. We're going to dive into Rain Zaben's vision right after the break. And after I share a couple of resources with you guys, we'll see you soon. All right, welcome in to Vision Pros Live with Jackson Callum. I'm your show host. We'll be doing interviews for visionary entrepreneurs and guest leaders who are building fantastic visions out there. Hey, what's up? Welcome into Vision Pros Live. I'm your show host, Jackson Callum, founder and CEO of First Class Business, and I'm excited to have Rain Zaben here today. We're going to be talking about energy. We're going to be talking about healing. We're going to talk about some really hidden secrets that are right in front of us that can help us move our lives forward closer to that of the fulfillment and the purpose and the passion, the holistic view of like, if you want more peace, if you want more happiness, if you want more joy in your life, the essence of feeling good and really understanding your world around you and being able to appreciate the good that's there and perhaps compartmentalize a bit more the negative that we all, of course, deal with too, then this episode may be a very impactful one for you, especially if you haven't talked to somebody about word choice and the power of subtle words that we're constantly bombarded with in the media, words that we're bombarded with if you're on social media, you are bombarded by a number of controlling words. We're going to dive into that a bit today and talk about how to protect yourself from the controlling nature and of voices and language that is so predominant in today's culture. So before we do that, though, I want to give you a couple of tangible resources. Beyond that, those are tangible, but these are even more so, especially for the business owners out there. We're going to start with, wrong way, the Law Spot with Melissa Gray. Melissa Gray did a great episode with us, by the way. I would recommend checking that out. Before I consider any software provider, any service, I always want to see who the founder is and want to see the culture they're building, because it is easy to build software these days and software gets displaced constantly. The last thing you want is a business that is built upon a software that's going to go bankrupt because they don't have great leadership. Same is true for any service provider as well. So Melissa Gray is a type of individual who not only has that ability to be the attorney you don't necessarily want to interact with, but also has the ability to be that nurturer and that calming force that can help you understand that legal does not have to be complicated. It can be simplified. She's got a great new spot on business blueprint as well to guide you through what are the systems that you should audit for yourself. And if you have any gaps in those systems, then I do recommend that you get help with it. Maybe from Melissa, maybe from somebody else. Interview a few opportunities. And that comes from somebody who has won a $20,000 trademark lawsuit when I was at Restaurant Connect. It's not winning when you lose $20,000 for a brand you already own, by the way. And also Apple patented our software at one point, and that cost us a lot of time and attention derailing for a day, panicking and freaking out about it. So it is very helpful to know before you need it who you're going to turn to for help and support. Then there's Andrew Sosin from Recovery Unplugged. He's not a client of ours. He did come and have an awesome show, and I love what he's doing to help people overcome addictions. There's so many people, especially in the realm of entrepreneurs, that have certain types of addictions. They may really love what they do, and they may really want to escape the rest of life outside of that because of the isolating process that is entrepreneurship and visions. In addition to that, we all know people who struggle with being present and being and fully going after life. They usually say things like, "How are you?" and they say, "I'm fine." They're not fine. Thank you, Mel Robbins, for exposing that. It would be very prudent and helpful to turn to a resource like Recovery Unplugged that has a virtual 24/7 hotline to know, what do you do? How do you inspire somebody to seek the right type of attention and the right type of help they might need? They used to be in 5 locations throughout the states. They still have those, but now he's got over 400 team members, and it's a nationwide, I think even a worldwide system. You might just try calling that number and testing my theory on that. I absolutely love how he leads Love that he masterminds with Richard Branson and Robert Kiyosaki. Those are two leaders that I look up to considerably. And he also has been to the Tony Robbins events 22 years in a row. So Andrew's depth of caring about others, creating an experience to help people overcome some of the challenges he himself has overcome, and coming from a family myself of extreme addicts, I know the value of this for my family. I would want a leader to talk about it if they knew about it. So if this helps even one of you, I'm grateful for that. Then there's the water project. I usually have my water bottle for this segment. The cool thing is I can walk downstairs and in 2 minutes have access to water, or even my bathroom sink. And I've got better access to water that millions of people do not have access to. And I don't say that to rub it in. In fact, I say that to draw attention for those of you who said, wow, how can you say something like that? To remember, well, how about we do something about it? Why don't we help the millions of people who don't have access to that? And that's exactly what the Water Project does. They have this amazing system where you can see which village or town you are helping, how many people are helped in it. And when you pay $5 or $1 or 20, or maybe you pay 200,000, I hope you're that person, to this cause, you're able to see the effect, the generational impact, because they show you with social media and proof what they've done for those different areas. Now, maybe you're not in a position where you can even give $1. My hope is that you just share this with somebody who might be able to. We never know the ripple effect of talking about the good that can be caused. And if you have a cause that draws your attention more than this one, there's not a competition here. Drop the link. Let us know about the cause. We might talk about both on the next show. Give us the opportunity to help too. There's 8 billion people out there who need our attention, who need help, who we could turn, look towards, and serve. Let us be a light to all those who need it. So without further ado, I'm going to bring Rain on now. We're going to talk all about her vision and how she's going about helping people with the words and beyond. Rain, thank you for being here today.
Hi, Jackson. It's lovely being here.
Absolutely.
Oh, that hurt my heart.
What's that? It hurt your heart?
Mm.
You felt it. You're willing
Yeah.
to. Thank you for being willing to.
Yeah. And I've seen it. I lived in Egypt, and I've seen that. The inability to, like, just the building across, they have water, and like half an hour drive, no water. And so it's tough.
May we use that, right?
Yeah.
May we use that energy and pain to, again, take some action to remove some from those who are really feeling that. So thank you for diving reverently to that. Yeah. What is your vision? I'm going to take you to a higher level too. Maybe, I don't know, it might be darker. What is your vision for those that you serve?
Oh God, my vision for those who I serve, it keeps changing throughout life, eh? Like I think the natural evolution, like as I shift, it shifts, but the basic gist of it has always been, and I used to always see it where I would see the world and I would see little lights lighting up, and these were like humans, that I would kind of like just touch them. Like, we don't have to spend forever in a day, but just spark that thing. And then all of a sudden they wake up to who they are. Like, they just wake up, and it's easy. It's not like, oh, now we have to go through shadow like forever. Like, it's just easy, and they just light up, and now they shed light to their surrounding environment. That's my vision.
Well, it makes sense as a spiritual transformational coach. I could see why you'd gravitate towards that aspect of the vision. And visionaries who are listening in, you all have multiple visions. I mean, the spiritual world is a reflection of the physical world as well. If I look this way, I have a vision of a beautiful pasture and cows. If I look this way, I can see a closet. It doesn't make either one wrong. It's just a reality. So I'm glad that you talk about the multiple aspects. And in your case, you see these humans, these light sources.
And they're not necessarily, because whenever anybody asks me, they're like, then I have to be a healer. I'm like, no, please don't. Like, don't change your career. Please do what you're doing. But when you wake up in what you're doing, then naturally it's as if you're shedding light to others for them to wake up. So you don't have to be one-on-one sessions or workshops or a speaker. You just have to be present in your environment. That's like the worker in the factory or the CEO of a company or it doesn't matter really.
What's the role? Yeah. There's so many dynamics to that. What's your vision for you? What do you see for yourself on the horizon?
Oh, God, I have so many. I see traveling the world, and which I have already traveled most parts of the world, but I'd like to start that over again, traveling the world, meeting different people again, and interacting with different souls. I see a vision of myself where I have the freedom to channel what I channel without people freaking out, and for them to just receive it, and they can choose to throw it away in the garbage or keep it, but not to like I'm gonna kill you for telling me this thing, right? Or feeling what you need to feel. You know, I envision just myself keep expanding more and more and finding that inner peace, and being more attuned, constantly being more and more attuned, because the shadow does creep up. I mean, my limiting beliefs still show up, and my shadow still shows up, and it's a lot easier to talk to them and deal with them and love them, but at times they take you by surprise. So
I'm grateful for all the people who show up to see this type of news, right? We could easily flip the channel and go and see all the stuff that's going on in politics. It's been going on for 8 years. I mean, it's always going on, but the last 8 years have almost been a Groundhog's Day over and over of fighting and bickering over something, and two people nobody really understands. You know, and so you can spend all the time you want doing stuff like that, you know, or we can spend time looking for holistic individuals who don't feel the need to fight each other. And that's what I see in you. So I hear you. There are people out there who are like, don't be so woo-woo, you know, and they bring their own mess to the equation. But that's part of why we seek others out in the world. That's part of why we, you know, part of the blessing of the virtual world. You can find people who appreciate you for you. I mean, would you agree with that, or do you only believe in local communities? I'm curious.
No, of course not. I've lived in 15 countries, so of course not local communities at all, right? So definitely expand and meet like different
What
cultures.
countries have you lived in?
Oh, okay.
Also, you got Egypt.
Egypt, Malaysia, London, Canada, of course, Switzerland, the Emirates, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Al Ain, Muscat. Oh God,
I put you on the spot.
I'm like, wait, there.
I couldn't tell you all the cities I've lived in or states either, actually. But yes, that's a lot. I wanted to get that cultural spread too, of like of knowing where you come from, because every culture is so different, and how they communicate and how they see things. So that's,
and I've had a fabulous life in that sense, because I don't assign myself to any space in particular. Like I don't really know, and I don't get along with specific cultures. Yeah, but I understand all of it because I've been around them. So I'm very accepting from others. And
so if I assigned you one, the human race, is that too boxing in, or because that's my race?
It kind of does. I don't resonate with it. Like I don't resonate specifically with it. Yeah.
Is that because it's all of nature being connected, kind of back to the grounding principle?
I think it's based because from childhood we did move a lot, and we did move home. So there was nowhere I was rooted in and took on the whole fight for your country, fight. You know, I didn't take on any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So because I didn't have a home. So I felt like I was everywhere at home, because I'd go to a country and they're against the place I used to live in before. Right. And so it didn't make sense. So I'd hear this point of view and I'd hear that point of view, and they both.
How does that relate to the human race? So I'm curious, where does that take you with, because the human race is all inclusive of all human beings. So is there a contrast there?
Oh, the thing is with humans is, when the human race actually gathers, they gather together when there's a catastrophe, where they're no more an individual. It's not my country against your country. It's not who I am against who you are, right? Humans actually show up as a collective humanity when they're going to save someone, save something, stand together with the same exact cause. So if you notice, when there's a hurricane somewhere, you'll find everyone in every parts of the states. It doesn't matter if you're left wing, right? It doesn't even matter all the stuff that I don't understand. They just become humans. Right?
Is that a good thing?
It's a fabulous thing
Okay.
because that's when
I
you, yeah,
thought
that,
you were
no, no,
saying
no.
you didn't. I was
No,
like,
I love that because
okay.
that's when you actually, that's when they wake up for a split second.
Yeah.
And they're not angry or pissed off or judgmental or like all of a sudden all that disappears and it's a state of emergency to care for each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't even know if
That's
I answered the question.
no, I like that. No, it wasn't really kind of a vague idea more than anything. And I see the Olympics, the celebration side as well, can often inspire and bring that out.
Yeah.
You know, and again, that goes back to also finding people who are willing to participate and feel that way. So that's yeah, that's important. Finding communities and belonging is super helpful. Let's dive into a difficult question. What is the worst leadership experience that you've ever had?
Oh, goodness. Okay. I'm going to say this, but I've come to a point where I'm just going to say what I say.
Yeah, good.
It was a kind of mystery school, meaning I thought it was going to be amazing. And the worst leadership was the kind of leadership where, and it's happening a lot in the spiritual world, and this is what I'm talking about a lot recently, where it's very control based. It's you're going to go through my practices the way I do it. You're not allowed to know this part of it until you conquer this one. And everything you've ever learned before, delete and erase because that was nonsense. And that was the worst thing I experienced. It was 2 years long. And I was just like, this is crazy. This is absolute nuts, but it's one of those, and I've seen it quite often. That was the
Oh
worst
my,
one.
we're flooded with it right now.
It's
We are flooded
everywhere.
with it.
Everywhere. Everyone is a guru. Everyone is a healer. Everyone's a this. And
Well, and everyone's learned not to say they're a guru too. You know, they've learned not. Everyone's also learned now not to say they're a guru, but they still have this essence of massive manipulation and control that, yeah, creates a bunch of sheeple.
And you know what's really sad, Jackson, is the fact that because so many people are awakening and waking up to truth. Oh my God, it makes me want to cry. Because people are waking up, it's so easy to manipulate in that state because you're leaving one world into another, but you don't know where the other world is, right? And it's so easy to catch them all the time. And there are thousands, if not millions, waking up. Yeah. And these people are just I
almost said it drives me crazy. And then I thought through it again, back to our topic, right on words. And I thought, actually, no. Nowadays, it's quite simple. For me, it just drives me away. And that's okay. You know, like that's a healthy boundary, right? There's a big difference between how we let it get to us and how we lead through it. You know, or how we realize, you know what, I don't want to leave. I don't actually want to lead through that hot mess. I'm going to go around it, you know, and take a detour with it's a little bit prettier, more. I love that you said that and thank you as a spiritual transformational leader and coach. You didn't call anybody out specifically, but you did talk about this trend of kind of pseudo judgment. And more importantly, I think it's what I see often is the elitism of if you prescribe to my way of manifestation, you know, you will get X, Y, and Z no matter what. And I'm not going to tell you who's failing in my community and where I'm failing to have my own manifestations align. But don't you dare challenge me, or I'm going to condescend at you and make you look bad in front of the whole community that is pretending with me that we have everything together.
Yes.
Sorry,
yes.
but that's
and I've met a lot of them who like will be like, I want my face to be on billboards, or I want to become so famous, but you're a healer. It doesn't mean that you can't make millions. I disagree with that. You manifest millions, right? But the intention, it's all like, what inside of me is driving me to do that? I could do a million other careers, right? But what inside of me is, do I like to manipulate? Do I like to control? Have I never been heard or seen? So this is how I'm going to be heard and seen by others. Is it from a place of fear? Right? It's driven through fear. Is it driven through, well, nobody ever gave me attention. Now I'm going to get, like, where is it coming from? And if you can dig deep and discover that, you're going to free so many people from having to go through this whirlwind when they're already like losing friends and family and confused and nobody understands. They don't understand themselves instead of them having to go there. you know?
So you have a great power as a leader, and I can see that, Rain. That's you recognize the difference between the virtues and the vices, as I would label them.
Mm,
You know, simplifying my own understanding of it is, yes, fear can drive results 100%. So can
mm,
hate,
mhm.
right? Those two mechanisms. Hitler was very successful at driving his vision forward with a lot of hate and inducing fear into others, and love and courage, right? Those can also drive results. And so we have these different elements that are easy to say, well, I don't hate people. I don't, you know, I don't want to scare anybody. Hmm. Are we willing to dig deeper and see where we accidentally practice that in our life, or where we allow that to seep in? We're all susceptible to those powers, and to using those powers. And, you know, we end up practicing worse leadership ourselves when when we irresponsibly, you know, don't get feedback, don't figure out how to move away from the bad and into the good elements. Like, this is, thank you. You are leading the way in a very, very cool way. Speaking of, what would you say your best leadership experience has been?
Oh, my best leadership experience, and I understand leadership differently, but to me she was a leader just because she led herself so beautifully. And she was my second Reiki teacher. So I took with her, I became a master Reiki and a teacher with her. But to me, this woman, and I've gone to everyone, okay, but this woman, she just knew her stuff. She trusted herself so much. Okay. And the way she held her, she was never in any way forcing an opinion. She's teaching me. She's my teacher, right? She's teaching this whole group and she's leading the way. I mean, I have no other information but from her. And all of it was given with such dignity, dignity to me. Like, she gave me my dignity, right? She allowed me to have my power. She didn't
Right.
enforce her power and her leadership skills on me. This woman I adore. She lives in Dubai. That's where I did it. And I still recommend her today to anybody who's traveling
What's
through
your,
Dubai, living in
how do you spell
Dubai.
your name?
Golnaz.
How do you spell that? Do you know?
Yeah, Gol. I just have to type it. Golnaz.
Okay.
Golnaz Mohammed. She's Iranian, and this woman gives you more than you ask for.
Oh man, that's great. I'm excited. Hopefully we can find a research, excuse me, a resource from Golnas and add it to the action steps as well. I would love to, if you'd be okay with that.
Yeah,
It'd
yeah.
be a
Oh
great
my
way
God. Of
to honor
course,
her
I
as a leader.
adore this woman. And
And
you'll see her, she's just glowing. You know
yeah,
these people that just glow and you want to hug them?
that's exciting. Yes, of
Yeah.
course. You're one of those. I hope I'm one of those. Anybody can give me
Yeah,
a hug.
you are. You are. You're very
Um,
huggable.
and Don Davis, I believe, Dr. Davis, it looks like. Appreciate the comment, Dr. Davis, on the great question aspect. I believe he was referencing probably the worst leadership experience we've ever had, because, and yes, so many people gravitate away from those experiences and talking about them when there's some of our best history lessons and opportunities to just figure out from other people's experiences what can we reshape in our lives and do better from those. So thanks for diving on that with me too, Rain. Um, all right, so
Can
moving
I just add
into,
something
yeah,
to
yeah,
that?
yeah, go ahead.
I'm so sorry.
I'll rewind.
Because I just got the thing. So basically what I heard was when people are leaving a program, what happens is they want to find another program, right? That's what it is. It's like, I've left a program which is structured. I know tomorrow, today, that, you know, I'm supposed to do this, 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 and these are the steps, and somebody else is catering. So naturally, if they're going through their awakening and they're all like, life is weird, they want that structure back.
Yeah.
They want a program. So that's what happens. So that's why it's
Mhm.
easy for them to fall there. It's not that they've lost wisdom. It's just
Right.
they're moving from a program to a program,
That's right.
and that's all it is.
That's a really good way to put it. That's that
Yeah.
fear of the unknown, right? Can
Mhm.
easily push us into something. I mean, anything
Yeah.
structure. Please
Yeah.
just don't let me sit here in that awkwardness. That's,
Yes.
I like that, moving into, and they're gonna find a new program. That's a really good way to put it.
Mm.
If this was your last chance, the last time to share one powerful lesson, what powerful lesson can other visionaries learn from your experience, Rain?
Oh my God. Doubting yourself is your biggest demise in life. There is nothing, 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 nothing that is worth anyone doubting themselves. No matter who tells you, you don't know how to speak to me. It's not time to talk to me now. This isn't the right way to speak. You're not approaching it right. Wait, you are this, you are that. Talk and act and be and da 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 da. If you feel in your heart the truth of what is happening, do not doubt how you speak, how you act, what you do, what you believe in, and who you are, as long as you're kind. You know, I'm not talking to narcissists here. I'm talking to the kind people of this planet. Don't doubt that inner voice. It is always whispering truth.
Wow. Okay, I've had 204 episodes now, I believe, that we've had. And you are the first leader out of everybody to do what you did right before answering that incredibly deep question. And it only validates further what I consider so valuable. The question we asked from the beginning: the words we speak enslave and control our spirit. It is amazing how few people will stop and contemplate that question before they answer it. Like this is the chance, you know, and you lived that. You were willing to live that with me fully. Now, maybe I have 204 people who've come on the podcast that were very fast processors. That's very possible. So I don't mean to take anything from them, but what you did right there is something that is very important for my life as well. To be able to stop, reflect, totally pull from whatever you just did. Can you describe that for the audience? What did you do when you took that moment of probably 7 to 8 second silence?
Okay, so what I did was I knew that a question always provokes an answer, and I have to be immediate. But I knew if I'm immediate, I'm going to be giving from my brain and a program that I have that I'm used to saying. But if it was such an important question, what powerful lesson can other visionaries learn from your experience? And it's a very important question. I had to get it from somewhere else. I can't get it from my program. So I had to go into complete silence and hear the program speak, because it speaks so fast. Our brain speaks so fast. It's going to go, and then it'll go silent. And then I can hear what is the best thing that I ask and I receive. So it's knowing how valuable this question is.
Wow. That's amazing. I'll add some color commenting to it. So I had a great therapist who was teaching our family, and he taught us about the 3 levels of listening. And I knew 2 of them already at that point. So I felt pretty smart. But the 3rd one blew my mind. So she's first, we can react like an animal. You know, if I put my hand in front of a frog, for instance, it's going to jump backwards and I can catch it very easily. Just boom, set it up. It's going to happen every time. Why? Because most animals react to situations. And even humans, we do that too. 2, I can also respond. And I was like, yeah, that's what you're supposed to do. You know, you're supposed to respond to somebody's question. So, or 3, we can listen to understand. And I was like, my mental brain just like shut when he said that. I was like, what? Like, I thought you were supposed to respond. No.
There's an understanding part.
There's maybe asking more questions or really getting it. So I love that you walked us through a new way of looking at that will help facilitate my own ability to also understand to greater capacity as I move into opportunities to answer questions, and remembering too the physical mechanisms that we forget about. There's a brain inside there. It's a contraption, and it does do something. And if we aren't cognitive of reprogramming it or realizing that we actually have more control over it, if we're just willing to be patient through that process, we can access new levels of wisdom, depth, consideration, perspective, paradigm, whatever we want to call it. So thank you for enlightening us with that. Moving into, go ahead. We got one more thought.
Yeah, I have something to say. Okay, so all I wanted to say was the word patience, right? So it just clicked when you said that. I'm like, yeah, because people are not patient with themselves.
No.
That's the thing. So it's usually be patient with this, be patient with life, be patient with source, be patient with the manifestation. But nobody ever has noticed that but you're impatient with yourself. Like you can't even find patience inside. Like, wait, let me breathe. Okay, so this is speaking, but I have a heart, and I just give patience. But to me, right? Because there's this frazzled person inside, like the old me or the me of a different identity, or the me that shows up whenever I'm in a bad place, right? Would answer this question. I'd be like, oh, okay, you have to answer now. Make a good impression. Da, 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 da. Whatever the thing is saying, right? So I'm not patient even with myself. So I think the messages that I'm hearing is be patient with self. Forget everything else. Forget life. Forget others. Forget. Be patient with your kids. Just be patient with you.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and the news that we love so much in the world would have taken what you just said with no patience, out of context, and said, she just said, forget everybody. You know, and they would turn this into a big article about how nasty you are and how awful you are to people. How could you, you know, why are we going to follow somebody who's that selfish? And they would miss the reality that what you said was about centering yourself so that you can show up really well for others in life, and the value of both. There's not a negative there.
No, but it doesn't even make sense. If I can't be patient with me, then I'm definitely not patient with anyone, because I haven't done patience. Like
I used to use a Sharpie.
Yeah, but I understand what you're saying with the news. Yeah. I don't watch the news. I have no idea what's happening in the world. Like
that's your prerogative. That's I do keep an eye on it actually daily. And it's a very quick eye to the process, and mostly because honestly, it fascinates me to see that the same two people are in the news every day with nothing new. It's like I wanted to take a screenshot of it. I'm like, how do people spend so much time on this when there's nothing new being said about it? But anyway, so I used to write on my wrist.
You know what's true? What's the fact though? Well, not the fact. What I interpreted as, Jackson, because I'm so many clients, boredom.
Yeah, sure.
They don't know if you don't have something to fight for, the system starts to feel bored, and boredom is scary because now I have no purpose.
Right. It's an addiction.
I've lost my purpose, my identity now. So of course the news, they have to
I have mine too. My current biggest addiction is sports highlights. And I love to catch my sports highlights. I mean, I miss playing it. You know, with a back surgery, I don't do that anymore. But sometimes I get myself far down the rabbit hole of sports highlights. And yeah, it's not that I don't not like the highlight or want to see it, but sometimes it is very much a single father of 4 world is sometimes hard. And sometimes it's just easier to dive into that than to want to feel, I miss my kids. So there's lots of things that we do, and they don't have to be alcohol and drugs to call it an addiction. When we become aware of what's there, we can then move purposely back to, and Jarrett Button, I'm going to give a shout out to him. He came on the show, one of the best coaches I've ever met. I mean, I think so. He was that fast that he had that big of an impact, but the guy has an amazing capacity of helping people understand the correlation between happiness and suffering, and how they work together. So anyway, there's so many ways we can explore that. I did promise more time to the audience about talking about how words we speak enslave and control our spirit, and then exploring our shadows too. You mentioned that. I'd love to give you some time to just dive into whichever component you feel is best as the teacher or coach in this occasion. It's your turn to just guide us on that. We'll pull your website up in the meantime.
Okay. Oh, my website I'm refixing.
Well, good. You're human.
You could use it.
Good. It's like a baby. It's constantly growing.
Yes. I'm like, yeah. Good. But okay. So words and the shadow. So words. The most important thing, what words hold are vibrations. I'm not going to say anything crazy. I think everybody knows.
I mean, people are going to call us crazy, but that's just people.
But I'm with you. Right, you're with me. Okay, so what we know 100%. Is words have vibrations, right? And they have a certain frequency. So let's say I come and say "ududu" to you, and you have no idea what that means. You'll be like, "Oh, that's a nice vibration." But if I say something like "you suck," right? You're going to be, "Oh." Right, you gave meaning to it.
South Park's really good at this, by the way. South Park for arguing does rabble. We all know what that means.
Yes, exactly. We have no idea, right?
Well, I mean, we do, like, they use rabble rabble when they want to create argument, right? So it's that tone and cadence, there's a vibration to it.
Yes. So it's the vibration of the words and the sound. So what's amazing is that words actually have no meaning, right? They really mean nothing except how we interpret them once we learn the language, right? So people travel around the world and they learn the swear words in most countries, right? Oh, I know how to say this. Right? That's the words they know. But in general, if someone swore at you in a language you have no idea what it is and they're smiling, you would never know.
You know what's cool? I am proof of this because and don't get me wrong, I was not the perfect kid. I did all my problems too. But in Spanish, for some reason, the contrast, the contrarian in me, I refused to learn the bad words when I was in high school. I decided not to. When I went on a mission to Uruguay and people would get upset at us, the other missionaries would get offended, and it had no effect on me whatsoever. I was like, hey, whatever. And they became my friends because I didn't get upset about these childish bullying techniques that had no effect on the guy who didn't get it. So
isn't that amazing though?
It was amazing. Yes, it was. I made for great friends with people who otherwise like would have never talked to me because I just didn't understand. So it taught me the power of, like, it's just a word in a dictionary. Like, it can't do anything to you.
And it has really no meaning at all except for how we interpret it to be, right? So I remember when my kids, they're like, Mommy, why is the middle finger a bad finger? Is it wrong? Did it do something wrong? I'm like, not really. Not that I'd like them to go around using their middle finger, but in general, I'm like, well, world gave it a meaning.
So I have to have the opposite effect. So I don't get a whole lot of time with my kids. Right. So instead of getting to know, like, those questions, they don't come up with me very. So I'm like, all right, you're 12, 10, and 8 now. You know, like, what does it mean? What does this, who's going to, and you know, my oldest, my 12-year-old is always the safest. She's like, I don't know. I'm like, you know, my 10-year-old, he's like, I know. You know, my 8-year-old's like, I know too. And she won't. And I'm like, all right, Emerson, can you say it for me? I was like, go ahead. I was like, you're in a safe space. We're at home. We're not. And he says a word, and I see my girls, you know, like the vibrations that
yes,
you know. But the point is, I don't want my kids to be overpowered by something as simple as a sound that comes out of a mouth. They have the ability to have strength and control over that versus being controlled by it.
Yes.
That's my thought and feeling.
Yes. No, I totally agree with you. I 100% agree with you. And I also believe that, because I choose not to swear just because I know that I've already attached a meaning to it. So it's already vibrating in that negative vibration inside.
Yeah, I abandoned those.
I can't disconnect them anymore.
I got you.
Right? You know what I mean? The word has already.
A gift for me. That's a gift for me. And I think it's because I grew up in two homes, one with love and one with hate, where I got to experience both. And I gravitated towards the love. But as I saw Gary Vaynerchuk, you know, F-bomb like crazy. And I thought, you know, who does he serve? Who's his audience? And he's serving the hood. You know, that's literally where he came from. He's trying to help people grow. He's not trying to help your average, you know, stay-at-home 20-year-old, you know, with a mom and a rich family in Utah. He's trying to help people get out of a circumstance where they've got almost no other options. And in those types of homes, the words F-U can be very close to the words. In fact, they could probably mean more in a lot of cases than thank you and then I love you, especially if you grew up in an abusive relationship where somebody says, I love you, whack, you know, I love you, whack, like that. There's going to be a certain triggering effect on people who have to go through that. My friend, a great entrepreneur, Cesar Torres, taught me that when he taught about trigger words. And he said, for him, the word stupid is the most offensive word in his language, and like never ever use that with him because it triggers him because of the way his dad used that word in relation to him or others. And you know, I decided, I was like, you know, I really don't want to give words that power over me. And I started to explore the depths of meanings of words so I could let go. Works for me, maybe not for everybody, but it's so helpful to know that we can break free or to know what we can avoid.
Mm. No, I like that. I like that you've disconnected, you've disattached from it. Not that you necessarily want to use it now every day, but
Mhm.
if you hear it or it comes your way, it just slides off of you. It
And
doesn't
I
become a
don't know who
thing.
knows this, but like I'm LD, I'm of the Church of Jesus Christ, Mormon, and like cussing's like not like a no-go. Like
Okay.
there's people who get very upset about words like darn and shoot and stuff, and it's like, and so it's a very weird environment to be in and know that okay, I got to be careful still, even
Yeah.
though no, I have no association with the same type of challenge that I used to grow up with. So it's weird, but it's important, right? If you
You're
want to
still with
relate to
the church,
communities,
right?
go ahead.
You're still with the church?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yep,
So
definitely.
you don't swear.
And what was that?
You don't swear in front of them.
No, it's it's a respect. I might use it as a means of so again with a purposeful intention of,
Yes.
like how do we make room and space for others if we can't make room and space for dialects? And that's really what cussing is at the end of the day.
Mm.
Is it's a dialect and it's a reflection of anger, which is a fake emotion, a
Mm.
surface level emotion. That means there's something deeper going on. How do I discover this depth so we can move beyond whatever's really felt? How do I position myself to be able to listen without them controlling the spirit that I have access to? That's
True.
that's my thought on it.
Yeah. I would recommend you to watch Osho. Have you ever
Oh,
read
sure.
Osho?
What is it? How do you
Okay,
spell
so
it?
look it up on YouTube. It's Osho,
Okay, I can spell
and
that.
he has an entire video. He's like this guru with a beard and a thing, and he writes books, and he's the bestseller. But look at that video. It's all
Yeah.
about the F word. He
Oh,
just
cool.
uses it in every, it's hilarious. Okay. And he's
Okay.
basically talking about Americans and how they use the F word and everything.
Yeah.
Okay. And
Yeah.
he's
Totally
like the
fair.
spiritual guru.
Right. And that's what's like, it does not affect him,
No, and it's
at all.
hilarious.
And it might have at some point, but it's pretty cool when our
Yeah.
words become resources that are simply for, our own gain and our own ability to access power. So,
Yeah.
okay.
No.
Shadows. You got a few
So
seconds,
shadows.
a few minutes to go into shadows?
Okay. Oh, definitely. So shadows for me, I wrote a whole book called Discover the Gifts of Your Disempowered Self. Disempowered self basically are your shadow self, your limiting beliefs and your shadow self. And the shadow basically is the version of you that has been shamed, guilted, denied, stuffed in a closet, bashed, yelled at, unheard, unseen. And the shadow aspect of us basically is the version of me that I don't show the world. Okay. So it's a hidden version of me, but that version of me actually has all the amazing virtues of me. Right. So let's say if I was a kid and I would be like, I have something exciting to share with a parent, and the parent would shut me down. Right. My excitement now lives in the shadow because now there's shame. Right.
Yes.
So it's figuring out, because we're all running away from our shadow or trying to release the shadow, but not bringing the shadow into the light, meaning let me look at my shadow because that's where my true identity actually exists.
Yep.
This persona that I've come up with of like, oh, I'm cheerful, extrovert, but all the whole titles things around, that is not truth. That is something I created to protect myself, right? To be liked and to be valued from this image that I have that is in the light. It's being seen, but because it's being approved of.
Yep.
But there's a shadow me, and that's what I dig up for people. It's not that I go digging, but I
I
keep
love that.
opening it up, and I'm like, look, let's go into your shadow. Give me all your beliefs, all the things that whisper in your head all the time, like, oh, nobody loves you. Oh, look at that. He's gonna choose her instead of you, and all that stuff. I want to hear it
Love
because
it.
that's only covering up the
Your
jewel
best you.
inside who's actually you. Because then that's when people start to recognize their soul gifts.
Yeah.
Because that's where your magic lies. Your spirituality, your gifts, like if you thought you were a procrastinator all along, it turns out you're not, right?
Right.
But you became because that it was shamed out of you, like you've been shamed into it. And it's just so delightful to look at shadow without being afraid of the shadow. So I didn't call it shadow. I called it disempowered self, because shadow for me, when I started shadow work, and I used to see dark entities before, it would freak me out. I'm like, I don't want to work with my shadow. Already I'm seeing shadows everywhere. I would get scared to go to the bathroom alone. I was a very terrified child and teen and 20 and 30. So I decided to call it a disempowered self. If it's this is with the thing with words, right? If I use the word shadow, I won't want to go near it as often. I will want to get rid of it because shadows are scary. When we're small and we see a shadow, we scream. If we're adults and we see a shadow, we scream. But if I give it a new name, if I say it's a disempowered version of self, it's a disempowered self, I will have pity for it. I will now empathize and have compassion to care for this disempowered version of me. She lives here. Can I go check her out? I don't want to get rid of her. I don't want to delete her. I don't want to shame her. I don't want to go to different healers to please let me feel happy. I don't want any of that. All I want to do is there's a disempowered version of me that exists. I want to just take care of her. The words, right?
That is so language. I am so glad you passionately explained your version of that too, because the words drive us towards different illusions, realities, understandings. And so as you talked about that, I wouldn't have gotten all of the depth of empathy and nurture and care. My side, I guess I gravitate more towards the science than I realized, because my side saw a light switch, something that I can control, right? If somebody's disempowered me and turned my light switch off, well, I have the power to find a switch and turn it back on. But the power of having access to left brain, right brain, right definitions on that, it puts us in a stronger position to take action, and to make a choice. So I love what you taught. I got to give a big shout out to the person who really inspired me over the last couple of years to step out into the public without knowing it. He doesn't know me, but JP Sears. JP Sears, the comedian and coach / business coach now. If any of you don't know who he is, you should definitely go check out some of his most popular videos. He has turned highly political in what he does, and that's okay. He stepped into exactly who he wants to be and how. And he speaks with such grace on that subject that I realized just a couple of years ago, I was like, man, I have hidden from so many things within myself. I never, ever grew my hair out because I hated my curly hair. This is the first time ever.
Even though it's so sexy and beautiful, like
take it. I'll take it.
Yeah, it totally like suits you.
You know what's funny? My son wanted to grow his hair out, and I would never let him. And because religious standards, be strict, blah blah blah. Professional demeanor, all this stuff. Again, not trying to be sacrilegious on any of that stuff, but that wasn't it. It was my own self-deprecating thoughts. It was my own insecurities that were actually caused. So when I finally met his little friend who looked like a little rendition of Jesus with his long hair, and I was like, "Oh, you want to be like him?" I was like, "That makes more okay." My son's got this Thor-like hair. I mean, he could look like a little version of Thor if he grew it out. So I said, "You know what? I'm going to grow my hair out with you." And that was what it was all about. He cut his hair. I don't know if his mom made him or if he did it, but I was like, "Dude, you abandoned me." It was one of the scariest things to do. And every time I got a little comment from somebody, the disempowered Jackson wants to run back into that hole. Yes. And I said, you know what? No, I'm 36 years old now. I can do this until I donate it. That's what I'm going to do. If wanted, it's now like the new mission. But thank you, Rain. Like the amount that you've opened for me in this session, the amount that you have the power to open in others as a transformational coach, you just radiate virtue. And I know that when in the show notes, everybody's listening, you're going to see action steps you can take. We'll get your book in there so that people know they can go to the book. We'll get the website, of course, too. And then every other type of resource that we can put in there to help people know what steps to take next. We want those in there. My invitation to anybody listening who's a visionary is in the top right corner. There'll be a button that says be our guest. That's an invitation to you listening. We'd love to have your holistic vision. If you're up to serving others or you have the desires to, it's not called Plan Pros. It's called Vision Pro. So you don't have to be the Elon Musk who's already on his way to Mars. You can also be the people who are just getting started. If it's holistic, we want to hear about it. Ray, do you have anything that you want to add before I wrap up?
All I want to add is if everyone can jump off the wagon of healing, stop healing, done. It's done. And just go into self-discovery. Change the words. Get rid of healing as a word and get into self-discovery. Your lives will change. Your attitude towards yourselves will change. And who you pursue to help you self-discover is going to shift and change. So that's what I would love to share with everyone. And yeah.
That already has a big impact on me. I am going to be meditating that today, tonight. And thank you. You've given us so much value today. And all you Vision Pros listening in, we will see you in the next episode. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye. Thank you for being here today. I'm really happy that you tuned in to Vision Pros Live. I'm looking forward to seeing your reactions as these episodes continue to move forward. This is going to get more and more fun. We'll have more and more engagement as well. We'll invite people to participate in the show. And thank you for giving us your time and attention. Have an excellent time building